will be talking about the Toyota Corolla and its history. During the 1960s, the idea of the average Japanese person owning a vehicle was a dream. Most Japanese vehicle manufacturers were making cars that only middle class and wealthy people could afford to buy and maintain. Eiji Toyoda, president of Toyota at the time, he realized that they were leaving out a lot of money on the table by excluding the general public. So he asked the engineers to create the Publica. So this car featured a tiny 2-cylinder 697cc boxer engine pushing out a mere 27 horsepower. And with an affordable base price, the 1961 Publica was launched to the public. But while the Corolla was in development stage, Datsun and Subaru were conjuring up their own car for the average person. So in 1966, the Datsun 1000, otherwise known as the Sunny, and the Subaru 1000 hit the road. Both cars had bigger, faster 4-cylinder engines that were just under 1000cc. Anything over 1000cc meant that they were pushed into a higher tax bracket, which was a major hindrance at the time. Japanese consumers preferred the more powerful cars to the Publica, but just a few months after those cars came out, Toyota launched the 1100cc KE10. Now of course the new KE10 was a little bit more in taxes, but Eiji marketed it as the 100cc Advantage. Finally, the average Japanese person could afford a reliable car that was powerful enough to quickly climb mountainous roads. Over in America, consumers were driving Detroit compact cars, which were not as compact as they sound, and they had much bigger engines and more cylinders. Toyota thought they could compete with domestic brands because the KE10 was much more fuel efficient. So in 1968 they started selling the KE10 in America. Toyota had to rename the KE10 for the North American market, and since their flagship sedan was the Crown, they called it the Little Crown, but they used the Latin translation for it, aka the Corolla. The base 1.1 litre engine produced 60 brake horsepower, which combined with a curb weight of 730 kilograms, a McPherson strut front suspension and a fully synchronized 4-speed manual gearbox made it really quick. But the best thing about the Corolla as far as American consumers were concerned was that it was extremely economical. The Corolla was as much as 60% more fuel efficient than its American competition. As the energy crisis of 1973 blew over, this came to be the Corolla's claim to fame. In that same year, the second generation of Corolla was conquering the market. With its sway bar front suspension and an all-new 1.2 litre overhead valve engine, the base engine is good for 73 brake horsepower. Toyota also launched a few new trims like the sporty 1.6 litre SR5 Coupe, which made 102 brake horsepower. In 1974, Eiichi's son, Shoichiro, was handling business at Toyota and he was doing a brilliant job. The Corolla was taking out competition left, right and center, and it quickly became the best-selling car in American history. This was a title that Corolla would become synonymous with. The third-gen Corolla had 5 variants, so there was something for everyone. For the long-distance traveler on a budget, there was the base 1.1 litre coupe, and for the family on the go, there was the 1.6 litre wagon. But for the budget-conscious, furry-chested, butterfly-collared disco king with Saturday Night Fever, there was the SR5 liftback. This was also the range that was introduced in South Africa for the first time in 1975. The Little Crown made a huge impression on international consumers, but Toyota didn't rest on its success. They kept developing, kept tinkering, and kept working. In 1983, they released the AE80, which was more commuter-friendly and much boxier, which was the shape of choice in the 80s. An all-new chassis allowed for more interior space by installing the 1.6 litre engine transversely and switching the car to front-wheel drive. Toyota realized that they were in need of an enthusiast Corolla, But instead of developing a brand new rear-wheel drive Corolla, they took a page out of Aiji's book and they took the old SR5, tuned it up to 11, and the AE86 was born. The car featured the legendary dual overhead cam 4AGE, which revved really high. I'm talking 7,800 RPM and 112 horsepower, which in a 1,100 kilogram car was amazing. This is basically the car that a guy by the name of Keiichi invented drifting with. Keiichi is the grandfather of drifting. His mountain sliding exploits not only birthed one of the most popular modern day sports, it also birthed one of the best enthusiast manga series of all time. As the 80s came to a close, Shoichiro wanted to revamp the Corolla again, and since the Corolla was selling so well, he killed off the coupe and wanted to focus on a more inexpensive luxury car. His directive to chief developer Dr. Akihiko Saito was simple: make me an affordable mini Lexus. So Dr. Akihiko set to work and developed the E100. Dr. Akihiko also made the new Corolla look super futuristic by eliminating body panels and making all the edges curved for a more seamless design. The world loved the new Corolla. This compact Corolla continued on through the 90s with a steady but not so good improvement rate. As of 2016, Corolla sold over 44 million units, the most of any vehicle ever. If you attach every Corolla that has been sold bumper to bumper, it would wrap around the world 5 times. When Corolla celebrated its 50th birthday in 2016, they were averaging a sale every 15 seconds. For a while, Corolla was seen as a bit boring, so now Corolla has been trying to rebrand itself again, and they are succeeding. And apparently, as the new ad campaign suggests, it's great for people looking to have a 45-second of a comfortable hanky-panky in the back of a compact car. But it really doesn't matter how the Corolla is advertised, it's consistently a great car.